Hi guys, Tracy here with another layout using the Tongue Tied kit, and for this layout I was challenging myself to use 10 or less supplies, and I was allowed to use more than one of each supply if I wanted to, but just to try to stick to, I wanted to keep it pretty simple. So what I'm doing is I have a piece of scrap cardstock here, so cardstock is my first supply, and I am just creating a photo strip using that piece of scrap white cardstock, and I've just trimmed up my photos so that they have a bit of a white border on them. So actually you're not going to see any of the cardstock. It's really just behind the photos, keeping them in place and keeping them all stuck together. So that's what my photo strip looks like. And now I'm going to pull out my kit. And oh yes, I just wanted to show you that I had to run 2 of those photos through Instagram because one of them had been Instagrammed and they didn't have the same kind of color tones on them, so I just wanted to make them match. So I had done that. And so I'm just going through looking for some patterned paper that might look fun with this series of pictures. And that ampersand paper is really speaking to me here today, and I had wanted, when I saw that paper, I had really wanted to try to do a layout that uses that paper as the main background, and so that is what I'm going to do today. So in order to do that, I'm going to use actually 2 pieces of cardstock. I have the light pink out. I'm not going to use it, but I have it out anyway. So I have a piece of pink and a piece of yellow. I'm just deciding which piece is going to go on top. And then I'm going to cut a piece of this ombre paper from Echo Park that came in the kit. And I am going to cut it so that it's basically going to be a very large mat for this photo strip, because basically I need a plainish piece of paper so that this photo will have some breathing space, because I'm going to be using this ampersand paper as the main background, and if I place my photo too close to that paper, all the details of my photo will get lost and the photos will be really overwhelmed with the paper. So right here, I had wished that that ampersand was, I could use it backwards because it covered, I had actually put my thumb in the picture on the bottom one, and I want to use some type of design element to cover that up, but it won't be the ampersand because it's just not the right shape for that. So I thought about using another piece of pattern paper here. I am trying to keep it simple, and I really don't want to overwhelm either the photos or that ampersand paper. So I'm probably not going to use that really cool funky pink and white paper, although I do love it. It's from Studio Calico. That's what the ampersand is from too. It's from Studio Calico from the print shop collection. So here I am still, and you saw Naomi there for a second, and now it occurs to me that I could use this fabulous frame, which not only is fabulous, but it also says fabulous. Naomi won't leave me alone. And then I put those bows, and it just so happens that this kit has some really, really amazing embellishments, because when you're doing a simple layout, you want the few embellishments that you do use to have great impact. So you want them to be awesome embellishments, and these are really awesome embellishments. Thought about using that green arrow, but I'm not gonna. So I've sort of thought my layout through at this point, so it's time to start cutting up my paper. I had torn an edge off of this paper, so I just had to straighten it out because it's going to be framed by 2 other pieces of cardstock. So I do want it to have a nice crisp edge and 90-degree angles. So I am just going to, I needed it to be square, so I just measured what one side was once I trimmed it, and made the other side the same size. And I don't know what I was doing there, but I'm going to trim off some of this pink piece so that I can have a tiny, tiny little yellow border around the edge. So I'm using my Caterpillar trimmer for this, and that yellow border is just a teensy bit too small, so I'm going to further trim, and it ends up being a 1/4 of an inch in total that I took off of the pink piece of paper. That's usually what I do when I'm making a tiny border, so I don't know why I tried to do less, but I find 1/4 of an inch is really a perfect amount to take off. If you take it off 2 different sides, then your whole layout has 1/8 of an inch of a border all the way around it, and it looks great. So now I'm going to outline this paper using a single line of a medium point Staedtler Pitt pen. And I'm going fairly slow because I want the ink to really soak in. I get a nice thicker line when I go slow. So now I'm going to mat that paper onto the other two. So far I'm counting this as 2 supplies. I have the cardstock. There's 2 different kinds, but there's cardstock and there's pattern paper. And then there's another pattern paper, and I don't know if I'm counting that as 2 or 1. I think I'm going to count the pattern papers as each 1 element. So I'm up to 4 elements, and then the frame is 5 and the bows is 6. I'm not counting the photos as supplies, and nor am I counting the cardstock on the, well, I mean, I counted cardstock as a supply, so I do have some cardstock underneath of those photos, but you don't see it anyways. So now I'm just going to glue this frame in place. And I just love how this looks, and those embellishments are just perfect. Perfect for this plain, simple layout. And now I'm going to take you for a bit of a ride across my room to my computer, because as I was scrapping with the Tongue Tied kit, look what came on the radio, Tongue Tied, the song. And so I just wanted to show you that because I thought it was really cool. So anyways, here we go. I am grabbing my thickers now because I want my title for this to be a very bold, simple title with a, like, I'm looking for a block, definitely a black font, and probably a block-ish type of heavy black font. So I just pulled out almost all of my black fonts just because I wanted to kind of think about them separately. So I get rid of all my other ones, and then I can look more carefully at the black ones that I have. Those chalkboard looking ones are good. Here what I'm doing is I'm just layering a little doily because I want something that's going to link my title to the rest of the layout, and that doily is going to serve that purpose. And so anyways, I'm looking through the black letters that I have, and I'm looking for something, and I'm not entirely sure what my title is going to be at this point, but now I'm definitely going to use the word sisters. I was going to put like sisters who share or sharing sisters or something like that, but then the bottom photo is really goofy and silly, and so I thought I'd make it be twisted sisters just because it's a fun word. So, or a fun phrase. So I only had 2 S's in that font, in that plain black shoebox font, but I happen to also have the shoebox font in black glitter. So I was going to do my title like that, but I'm not, sideways like that. But so I'm cutting the 2 pieces apart, the 2 words for the title, just so that I can kind of play around with the placement of it. I forget what I was saying now, but anyhow, I'm looking for, yes, so I substituted the last S with a glitter S, and then it looked a little weird. So I just took a couple of the other letters and also replaced them with glitter. So that's what I was doing a few minutes ago. And now I am picking out letters for the word twisted, and I'm using these glitter fancy, the font is called Fancy, and it's a black glitter font as well. And I don't have an E in this, but I'm pretty sure that I can figure out a way to make an E because there are some C's, and C is pretty close to E. So I'm just going to put a C there for now, and then I'm going to look at what else is there. And I like to use Z's for my sacrificial letter stickers when I need to, because I rarely use Z. So that makes a pretty decent looking E, doesn't it? So I just kind of, you saw me just cut a piece off of the Z, and now I'm just kind of cutting the piece off of the C so that the 2 of them can meet up perfectly, just like that. So there, you wouldn't have known that it probably doesn't look exactly like the E that came in the set, but because there's no other E's in this word, you don't really know that. So now my challenge is that, well, first of all, I'm going to glue this doily into place because I am going to have my title be mostly on the ampersand paper, so I need something to link the title with the rest of the layout. The doily is going to do that. Now I place the photo strip so that it is on an angle, but I want my title to be straight, and that is always a challenge because my anchor is not a vertical line. So if I'm kind of comparing the edge of that S, I can't line it up with the edge of the photo strip because the photo strip is crooked. So I'm just using my eyes here. I'm just kind of eyeballing it, and then I'm kind of stepping back and looking at it. I'm also looking at it in the screen as well as with my own eyes. And now finally I'm going to take a ruler here and just make sure that it doesn't have to be perfect, but I just don't want it to be way, way, way off and be very obviously not straight. So now for my top word, I just use the bottom word as my anchor, so it's a lot easier to make it straight. I'm just judging the space between the top of the bottom word and the bottom of the top word and trying to make that space be pretty consistent. It's good to know your own habits, and I know I tend to float off as I work from right to left, which is backwards. I tend to float up in my letters, so I always want to kind of check and make sure. I usually take a moment and pull things down a little bit over on the left side because they tend to rise as I put them down. So this is looking pretty good, and the only thing that I want to do is I want to kind of emphasize the black splatter that's on the ampersand paper, and it looks kind of like you can tell that it was done before I made the layout because the papers on top don't have any splatter on them. So all that I'm going to do here is add a teensy weensy bit of splatter to the upper paper, and I added a tiny bit on the other side just because there wasn't enough. So I just took the splatter that was already on the ampersand paper and just added a tiny bit to the papers above it. And I think that that is all that I'm going to do. There was a tiny bit of adhesive showing, so I tucked it in. Again, with a simple layout, I try to pay a bit more attention to those kinds of details because it's just easier to notice mistakes when there's only a few things on it. So now I'm going to do my journaling. So I did use less than 10 supplies. The doily counts as, I think I was on 6, and the thickers count as 7. So I'm going to go with 7, even though I did use 3 packages of thickers. So maybe I could be 7, 8, 9, and 7, 8, and 9. I'm not sure. Anyhow, I didn't use too many supplies at all for this, and I really love how it allows that ampersand paper to really take the center stage, but it doesn't take away from those photos. I really like the pink matte around the photos with the ombre paper that just lets them breathe just a little bit to let your eye really kind of focus on them, and then the really bold font in the black. And here's my journaling. It's just about how they've really grown together as sisters since they got into American Girl stuff. So take a look at the photos, and thanks so much for watching, everybody. Have a great scrappy week.